So, Lone Rider here, and now for something completely different. I just wanted to talk about automated phone services and um, the inability to get through to another human being or carbon-based life form, as we'll call it, when you're trying to call about something being wrong with um, internet service or bills or anything else. So the other day I had a problem with Comcast, and the internet was a little slow. I figured there might have been an outage in the area. It was going herky jerky like I was trying to watch an old TV show episode, and it was stopping and starting, every few seconds, and it was really tedious. So I wanted to know whether it was my computer or whether there was an outage in the area, given that we've been having some pretty bad thunderstorms. And usually, what happens is if there's a problem, I'll call up Comcast, who's the cable and internet provider, and they'll be able to tell me if there's an outage in the area. Usually, when you call them, there's an automated recording that answers the phone, but if you say, I need to speak to an operator, or I need to speak to an agent, a sufficient number of times, eventually you get put through to one. And this time, something different happened. I called 15 times over the space of 25 minutes to 30 minutes, and I wasn't able to get through. In fact, every time I called and I said, as initially as politely as I could, that I wasn't going to have a conversation with the recording. Could you please put me on the phone with a human being, with an operator, because the recording simply couldn't help me with the problem I was having. Um, it hung up on me, and somewhere in those 14 or 15 calls, I actually tried to play along with the recording, and I inadvertently triggered it to say that it was going to try and run a diagnostic and it was going to shut down my internet. So, that was the worst thing it could have done. So I hung up. Then I resumed trying to call back and get through to an operator. And it appeared that every time I said the word operator or agent, it would disconnect me, almost as if it had some kind of a key phrase, um, program where it was looking for keywords, and if it heard that, it would disconnect it. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what happened. So um, after about half an hour, and like I said, about 15 calls, I finally got through. And of course, by that time, the problem I had with the internet had resolved itself. It was clear there was no outage in the area. It was just the thing was slow. But I finally got through, and I figured I'd speak to the person anyway because they should know about the poor customer service they were providing. In fact, downright shabby customer service, considering that we pay them a good deal of money for internet access, and all we ask is if there's a problem or an apparent problem, that we be able to speak to another human being who might be able to either explain what's wrong or fix it. I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm not saying we should get the internet service for free, certainly, but I'm also saying that since we are paying for it, if there's a problem with it and we call up, we should be able to speak to a human being, to another carbon-based life form. I don't think this is an unusual request. Now, I know pretty much every company under the sun is trying to automate as much as they can to save money and yada yada. But the point is that there's only so much that a recording can help you with. And actually, when you just rely on pre-programmed responses, you can actually get a situation that'll make something worse. For example, you're calling about intermittent internet access, and the recording offers to shut down your internet to run a diagnostic. Well, that's not going to help. I mean, the whole reason you're calling is because the internet isn't working consistently. So they're gonna just offer to shut it down. Like, what the hell? Well, that's what happens. And the whole reason that I didn't want to speak to a recording was, one, I'm not going to go through the charade of pretending that a recording is, in fact, a carbon-based life form, a human being, that a recording is sentient, that it's even possible to have a conversation with a recording, that a recording can even help me in any way. I'm not going to try and um, promote that. I'm not going to try and condone that by participating in it. The recording comes on, and I'm going to ask to speak to an agent. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, since we're paying for the internet access, I have every right to ask that. I'm not asking to call and speak to them all the time. It's if there's a problem or a perceived problem, I want to be able to talk to somebody who can either explain what's wrong or fix it. And I don't think that's going out of my way. So when I finally got through to the person, and the young lady who answered the phone, clearly it wasn't her fault. She's just there to answer the phone. So I said, look, I said, nothing I have to say reflects on you personally. I understand. It's not your fault. But whoever programmed your phone recording should be fired because you came within a micron of losing a customer. Okay? I mean, I kept trying to call, and every time I called, I was disconnected when I asked for an agent. The one time I tried to play along with the system, it almost inadvertently shut down my internet. Just giving one more illustration of why relying on an automated recording is absolutely useless for these things, and in fact, not only useless, but actually counterproductive. And I basically said, I don't understand this level of customer service. Yes, we know everybody's trying to save money and automate where they can, but at some point, there's no substitute for a human being. There's no substitute for a mind in control and a hand on the phone, on the console. And, basically you're doing everybody a disservice here, and I honestly don't know if is this the future. Is this what we're all gonna, have to deal with? I think it's a future of mediocrity, if that's what it is. If this is what we can expect going forward, then there's going to be a lot of angry people, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't get done because stuff doesn't work, because it doesn't get fixed. And it's not getting fixed because you're not having an accurate exchange of information, because checking a box or pressing a number or answering a pre-programmed response isn't sufficient for dealing with all of the infinite variables that can arise in a real-life situation. Those menus and those pre-programmed responses and those bullshit recordings, excuse my French, are created from a finite list. How are they supposed to accurately deal with an infinite number of possibilities that could arise in the real world? They can't. Okay? And as proof, when I tried to play along with it, one of the 15 different times I called, it offered to exacerbate the problem by further shutting down my internet, when the whole reason I was calling was that the internet wasn't working. So, all I asked was to speak to a human being. I don't see that that's something outrageous. I don't see that's, if they want to have an automated phone system to answer calls initially, that's absolutely fine. But there should be some method for getting through to a person if you need to have the system set up so that when you ask to get through to a person, it hangs up on you unceremoniously. Look, it's one thing if they had one of those things where it says, we are experiencing higher than normal call volumes. Please hold if you want to speak to somebody. You know what? That's fine. I'll wait on the line. But to just hang up and disconnect, and then you got to get frustrated and call back again, at some point, what do they think is going to happen at some point? I mean, if there's an alternative for internet service, I may choose that. If there is no alternative, I may just decide, you know what? The internet's not dependable as it is, and I can't get help when I need it. I may just not have internet. I mean, or find some other way to do it. But I'm not sure they realize that this is not a winning formula. They may just, some idiot bean counter is probably at the top there looking at this and saying, well, if we just automate everything and have recordings for everything, we'll save, like 3 cents on the dollar somewhere. You know what? That's fine. That's it. How many customers are you going to lose? How many people are just going to get so frustrated that, they're basically on the verge of committing hara-kiri with a pedal wrench or running their computer over with their car? And I said to the lady, I said, look, I am so disgusted by what's happened. Like, yeah, I've had to call you back 14 times, and so the problem has resolved by now. So I don't have a problem to talk with you about. beyond your crummy customer service. But the point is, even if I did, I couldn't coherently explain what was wrong because I'm essentially, on the verge of apoplexy at this point because of trying to deal with your automated system. I mean, this is not cool. Okay, and I even said to her, I said, this isn't disrespectful. This is the metaphorical equivalent of pouring a chamber pot over someone's head. Okay, that's what you're doing to your customers. You're basically pissing on them. Excuse my French, but that's what it seems from my vantage point. And, not for nothing, but that's not something that's not a policy that's crafted with the idea of keeping people as loyal customers going forward. Now, if everybody's doing it, there may be no alternative. I don't know. But this is something that we should seriously think about, in our society when it comes to, you call up someone and you have these automated menus. Yes, they're just an annoyance. But when you have to call back 15 times after being awake since 3:30 in the morning for an early shift at work, it goes beyond annoyance and it enters the realm of serious reason to cancel service contract. Okay? So, Comcast, if you're listening, your customer service sucks. It needs an upgrade. And, whoever programmed that recording and that phone system should probably be fired because you came within a micron of losing a customer. And I can't say what will happen next time, and same for all these other things when you have to call insurance companies or banks or, look, they're perfectly willing to take your money when they send you a bill. But if you need to contact them about something going wrong, look, you should at least be able to reach another human being, okay? If I got a problem, I want to be able to have a conversation with a carbon-based life form, not a recording that's faking the illusion of a person talking to me, because that can't help solve my problem, all right? But we have two things here. One is the disservice and the insult that's given to the customer of, pretending to listen to them when it's just a recorded voice that can't really do anything or exchange any information or analyze any problem. But two is the fact that it cannot exchange information or analyze or help solve the problem. So you're not only disrespecting the customer, you're not solving their problem, all right? And you're in fact creating a new one, which is called pissed off people, okay? And I'm one of them right now. And I understand the young lady I talked to on the phone, of course it wasn't her fault. She didn't program this damn thing. She didn't create the policy that we're not going to have operators or whatever. But the point is that unless this was some kind of a glitch, they got a tree fall down and it took out a power line or something. If this is how the system is programmed, they need to reprogram it. They need to seriously rethink their entire philosophy of use as regards to how they interact with their customers, okay? Because telling you to visit a website or speak pre-programmed messages into a recording doesn't help solve the problem. If I need to talk to an actual human being who can do something cognitively and think and look at the screen and analyze it, a recording is no help. Referring me to a website is no help. None of this is any help, okay? You're basically telling me to go bug off, all right? And your customers don't like it when you tell them to go bug off after they paid their hard-earned money to get the service and it's not working. So, just a thought. I know this is a little different than usual. It's a bit of a departure. It's a totally different issue. It's not cycling related. It's not about archery, etc. But I wanted to put that out there because this is something that's affecting every aspect of life in the country right now. And it's getting to the point where it's intolerable. It is. Lone Rider out.